Thank you so much, everyone. It's an amazing pleasure to be with you tonight. Thank you, Gunsu, for inviting me and giving me a chance to talk with all you tonight. So tonight the talk is going to be about change. So what I wanted to emphasize on is actually the difference between short-term efforts that we can be able to make sometimes versus real transformation, real long-term, long-lasting change, and how it happens, what happens with all that. So we will discuss that and how maybe you can improve as well the way you can change the things that you'd like to change in your lives, hopefully. So thank you all again. I really love Internations. I love how Internations is actually a platform that's encouraging change and inspiring a lot of people to look for that and to see how they can have better lives and how they can improve themselves continuously, which is an amazing message already. I really believe so. So this is going to be the plan for this evening. We're going to move to these different topics, starting with a little introduction. Then we're going to try to see why those efforts, those short-term changes fail. What are the mechanisms and how what happens when we actually fails and we can't sustain those changes. Then we're going to consider what are the causes of the problem in the first place, going to the roots of what's happening and what's causing the need to change in the first place. And then looking at different tools and techniques that can actually provide change, can provide solutions to transcend and to create this real transformation, and how to make them sustainable, how to maintain those changes in a long-term basis. So don't hesitate if you have some feedback and some questions to type them in the chat box. I'll be going through the presentation first, and we'll consider together the questions after the presentation, if that's okay. But don't hesitate when the question comes into your mind to just write it in the chat during the presentation. No problem at all. And as Gunja said, for any technical things, she can be helping and addressing that with you. So a little, as a starting point, a little bit about myself. I know some of you who are joining tonight, and some might not know me. You might not have a chance to have a look at my website yet. So I'm Clem, Coach Clem. My full name is Clemence Fabien, and I'm a certified coach. I help business owners and I help individuals to thrive in their professional and professional lives. And I love working with expats, English speakers and French speakers. I'm from France. I speak French also fluently, and I just love working with people from all over the world. I'm finding being really blessed to be able to do that. And the reason I think I connect a lot with expats is also because I'm an expat myself, and I've traveled a lot and worked a lot, lived a lot of different countries, in the UK, in France, in India, in Colombia, in Spain. So it's really something that's dear to me, very important to me, and I believe also a way of changing, a way of transforming oneself. So initially in my career, you can see at the bottom here a little bit of my career progression, which is also marked by change a lot. I was initially a language teacher, and I worked abroad, worked in a lot of different countries with a lot of different people teaching languages. Then I settled a little bit and started a bilingual nursery. So I had my first entrepreneurial experience. And then I decided and realized that my true vocation was with coaching. So I did another career switch and decided to do certifications and trainings to become a coach and create my own business. And I really like how actually things can be complementary and associated. And when I work with my clients, I actually use different hats. I'm a coach when I'm helping them find what they really want to do, find their vocation. And also when we're working on their mindset, on this inner game. I'm also a consultant. I can be helping with CV, for example, if we're doing career coaching or working on business plan for business coaching. And what I love doing as well is offering meditation and visualization exercises, which I believe supports the whole process of coaching and transformation, helping with mental health issues, stress management. And it's just a very super powerful combination for me to help others change and thrive. And to reach the fulfillment and to be able to thrive, you usually need transformation progress, a transformation step to reach that. So I'm also excited to talk to you about change and transformations, as it's really something dear to me, very dear to my heart, and that I also experience as on a personal level. Change and transformation, which I believe is very important. If you're going to be helping others, you have to walk the talk first. This is the way I believe it should be, and it's also the best way to deliver a very powerful work and have a very powerful impact on people. So I choose this picture here as it shows my little pendant here. It's got a little dragonfly, and this is also the logo of my business. And for me, the dragonfly really represents transformation, actually, the ability to change, the adaptability and self-realization, which is really an objective for me that I've been, of course, developing for a long time, and I'm going to continue actually developing for the rest of my life. So just a few little information about my journey with change. So as I said, I've changed careers, I've changed countries, I've learned languages, which really was for me a real internal transformational process. I had health issues, so experienced family members with health issues, very serious, loss also of loved ones, myself having been challenged by health issues. I had a blood clot in the brain in 2012, so went very close to death, and actually after that had major depression problems. So I had to find really a way for me to bounce back, to transform, to go back to a great life. Went through a major breakup as well in 2019 after 7 years of relationships. What else did I do? I quit smoking in 2015, and that was after a lot of struggle with it. And so they're quite personal things, yeah, but it's just to illustrate those, this progression for me, what it has been for me to change, and how important it has been actually, life-changing, life-saving in some respects. I've struggled a lot with eating disorders as well before. I had bulimia when I was a teenager, and this relationship with food was really ongoing until a long time. Actually, I wasn't able to solve everything. I had resolved the eating disorder aspects, but my weight was still not very healthy. And so recently I finally managed to overcome the last of the obstacles and lost 23 kilos in the last year since October. So I'm quite proud, and it has been very transformational for me. So this is why I'm very, very excited to talk to you about this idea of changing for good, changing for life. So let's move on and consider now, so why do we fail? What are the mechanisms of failure? And to start with, I wanted to point out that actually 80% of New Year's resolutions usually fail. 80% of New Year's resolutions usually fail, which is very interesting to study. And this is also connected to things that sometimes we do that do not actually bring us this sustainable change. So I'm thinking also about team building sort of weekends, at work, like they do change the dynamic for a little bit, and then everything goes back to normal. Or when we do some short workshops, etc. I'm thinking also of the smokers trying to quit. There are so many of them that are just going back to smoking again. And it seems to be very easy actually not to succeed. So why is that? So what's interesting to consider is, why are those changes not working? So there are some key points that I've listed down there. So the first one can be, sometimes they're not specific enough. So for example, that would be, I just want a better life, I just want more health. I just want to lose weight. be healthier. Okay, that's not very specific. Yeah, that's not something you can be accountable for. And usually what happens is that because the plan is not specific enough, then it doesn't happen. And also I found that the fact of having a specific goal also can also help you plan for a celebration. Okay, when I'm going to get there, I'm going to celebrate, and this is the way I'm going to celebrate, and which is usually missing. So there can be also this way of, why am I doing that? Like I don't really have an objective to achieve, and there's not going to happen. Something is not really going to happen when I get there. So this being specific is actually an important aspect. Sometimes it's too much. It's too ambitious. Thinking, for example, oh, I'm going to be going to the gym every day for 2 hours, or I'm going to stop complaining. I'll never complain ever again for all my life, or I'll never shout again at my children. These sort of things, that might be a little bit hard to do, maybe. Or again, let's say I'm going to find a new job and quit my job by the end of the month. That's what I'm going to do. Oops, sorry, excuse me. Going back to the slide. Why? Okay. Oh, do you quit your job in 1 month and find the job of your dream in just 1 month? That might be, that might take a little bit more time, maybe. So it's like it's going full on. It's taking this change with no transition. It's not building up at all. So it's not being gentle. And usually you can keep up with that for a few days, and then you go back to what you were normally doing, or even sometimes with a little bit of regression. So that's probably because that was too much on your shoulders. The other aspect can be because it's not your goal. So what I mean by that is that it might not be necessarily what you want, but you could be influenced by social trends, or I should, or those trends with dieting. I'm thinking, for example, that can be influencing you, like, oh, it would be good, I should really be doing that. But is that really what you want? And is that really what you need? So it's also very interesting to look at your very deep motivation, what's really happening for you with that question. And also that can be a sense of punishment, a sense of being very harsh and beating yourself up. So these are the types of resolution or decision that might be guilt driven. And so they come across usually with negative feelings, and they can be counterproductive. So for example, that could be stop wasting money, like you're wasting your money on so many things. So, and that can be nurturing, for you, and going around in circles with negative feelings and negative thoughts and beating yourself up. Oh, really, you can't really do that. How can you be also irresponsible, etc., etc. And that's actually not how the brain works, If you tell your brain, don't think about a pink elephant, what is your brain going to do? It's going to think about a pink elephant, because this is the way the brain is framed, So there are ways as well to phrase your objectives and to phrase your even your resolutions if you're thinking about taking some resolutions. And instead of, for example, saying, I'm going to lose weight, because with losing weight, you've got the idea of losing something. And for the brain, it's not very positive, If instead of losing weight, you're gaining more happiness, you're gaining a healthier weight, you're going to get to your body's healthiest weight as possible, that really switches as well the perspective. And psychologically speaking, it makes a difference. So what's quite interesting, though, is that I'm missing one point. Distraction, yes, addressing something else that seems manageable. So usually we'll go for another goal rather than focusing on the goal that really matters, and rather than changing what's really going on, we will choose something that seems easier, that seems more manageable. And the reason why this would fail is because it's not addressing the real problem, the deep down problem that's affecting your happiness in your life. So this phenomena of distraction can also happen, and they still don't work, unfortunately. So what's really interesting to see is that they've got or they all have in common that it's something very internal, something that's happening inside of us. So whether it's because if it's too much, like too much water, I've given this idea with this picture, like water is good, but too much you can drown in it, whether it's I just want something better, it's not specific enough. Whether it's about comparison, oh, I want what the other has, not really because I want it, but because I envy that person, for example. That might not be as well an easy way to and a healthy way to actually set goals. Or if you're punishing yourself as well, that can be very self-violent, along with not focusing on the real problem. So they all got this common theme in a way. This is something happening deep inside of you that is blocking from those changes to maintain and to be sustained in your life. So we're going to be looking now at what is the problem then in the first place. But what's wrong with me? We sometimes wonder, no, what is wrong with me? Why can't I just do this simple thing? Why can't I just simply change what's going on in my life? And it's interesting to look at why this system got in place in the first time. And I like this quote by Albert Einstein. Actually, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking, with the same level of consciousness that we used when we created them. So this is also a big issue there. If we're trying to address something with the same level of thinking, this is also probably not going to work, because we're not actually addressing what's going on. So it's very important and crucial there to take a different angle and a different perspective. But it seems to be pointing towards what happened when the problem was created. So before it was created, and the cause of that, and when it was created. Why do we create bad habits, behavioral problems, or even sometimes there are patterns, operational systems that can be dysfunctioning? So it all starts with the creation of ego. So I'm going to present to you ego. So this is the ID card and profile of ego. So what's an ego? So ego from Ego Town in Selfish Land. The ego develops in childhood, and it's in a psychological development of a person. And everyone has got a ego, of course. And this is interesting to actually have perspective on this ego, whether you had a happy childhood or not. Ego would have developed in you, and it's very connected to the primitive side of the brain, as it's a coping mechanism. It's going to help you. It's here to help you to cope with life, and it's here to keep you safe, to help you get what you need, to get your needs fulfilled. So it's here to keep you safe physically and emotionally, effectively, right? Its core needs is the recognition, and the pain points are it blurs your vision and it creates suffering for you. So basically, it's mine survival technique type things. It's here to protect your best interest at the beginning. This is why the ego develops, which is interesting because although originally the mission of the ego is here to help you, it ends up actually not helping you in the long term. Why is that? Because it eventually leads to the idea, to the belief that there is something wrong with me. So the ego as well, to protect you from what's happening to you, is trying to find a reason, why is suffering happening to me, pain, bad events, etc. And the reason that the ego comes up with at this very young age is not that the world is imperfect and that things can be sometimes up and down, etc. And then accepting that there is a balance, maybe in all that. The ego is telling us there is something wrong with me. It's my fault, And that is a very critical limiting belief that sabotages you on the deep level. And we can have a different relationship with our ego. And I wanted to show you this little Maslow pyramid that you've probably heard of. So the Maslow's pyramid shows the different levels of someone's need, and you can see that the physiological level is on the first. Then we've got the safety, the belongingness, and then ego needs starts to be stronger from this stage. And the way to transcend the ego is to move on to the self-actualization step of the pyramid, which is possible, of course. I reassure you. So in some traditions, like in Buddhism, there is an invitation to actually look at the ego and transcend it, and to maybe, it's not a way to fight it or try to kill it and try to get rid of it, but actually seeing where it might not actually be true, and actually uncovering those limiting beliefs that can be limiting and can be creating obstacles for you to transcend. And usually because you realize that these beliefs don't serve you, and you can actually change the way that you process your patterns and your operational system. And I really like this picture of this little person separating the E from the go, when what is left is go. So you'll be able to actually be and act and be the real person that you are. So that's something that happens for everyone, right? So we create this ego, and then what happens? We get symptoms, yes? So the symptoms can be the conditioning. So usually the conditioning is unconscious. So that can be also in the society, in the group level. So for example, for a long time, we believed that smoking was good, it was advertised, and it helped you to de-stress, etc. Now, some people are saying that maybe for nowadays, it might be sugar, where you can see too many adverts with sugar, and it's considered to be normal, while it can be maybe not so good for your health, for example. So this type of things can be considered as conditioning. There's a lot, of course, of compensation. So the fact of smoking, of course, alcohol, food, any type of addiction. These are as well other sorts of programming that are in place to help you to cope. I can't cope without it. And they slowly actually sabotage you and destroy you in some cases. We have also limiting beliefs. So that these are also the symptoms caused by the creation of this ego about ourselves, about others, about situation, and it really limits our reality and overall our experience of the world and our ability to be happy. It can also create health issues, both physical and physical. Sorry about that. Both physical and mental. So of course, traumas and events can have a big impact in these as well, in depression, in different diseases as well. They can be connected to mental health, and this correlation that now it's been a lot more proven and a lot more accepted, the connection of the mind, the body, the emotions, all these psychological aspects. So we know now that they are connected. And also overall, it really creates those reactions. So, those moments when we realize we're not in control, we don't really choose what we're saying or do it. It's like an automatic sort of program. It's like almost having someone inside of your head that acts instead of you, and you witness it and you can't do anything. So this is when it's really on this deep and conscious level. And you can gradually act on it. So the different mechanisms that happen. So for that, I'm going to be using the model of positive intelligence that I really like, and I feel it's really inspiring, and it's really helping to give a lot of awareness of what's happening inside of us. So I invite you actually to visit the website positiveintelligence.com if you want to have more information. So on this so the author is called Shazad Shamin, and he explains that we sabotage ourselves in different ways. Yeah, we are all unique. We have all unique fingerprints. You know, when we are born, we have our unique personality, our unique essence, and we all develop an ego, but it doesn't end up being the same. So we don't develop necessarily the same problems or habits or programs, and we can identify tendencies. And it helps to be quite clear and to be having the clearest awareness as possible on how we operate. So in the model of positive intelligence, he explains that we all have a judge saboteur, which would be the master saboteur. So this is the voice in your head who is constantly saying that there is something wrong with me, there is something wrong with others, and there's something wrong with the world, with the situation. The judge is a universal saboteur and afflicts absolutely everyone. So this is really another way to talk about the ego, in a way the judge represents the ego. And it's the one that beats you up repeatedly over mistakes or shortcomings, warns you obsessively about risks, wakes you up in the middle of the night worrying, I don't know if that sounds familiar, gets you fixated on something that is wrong without being able to see at all the positive. And it's really in the way really sabotaging, because a lot of your energy is then dedicated to feeding those sorts of negative aspects, of negative patterns, negative voices, and then we can end up just being very, just exhausted and having all sorts of symptoms just from this inner voice, actually. And the voice works along accomplice saboteurs, and that's explained in the positive intelligence model. So depending on the motivation of the saboteurs and the style, we can create different saboteurs. So we usually have at least one accomplice saboteurs, sometimes two or three that are stronger than others. We can have some tendencies of each of the saboteurs to a little extent, but usually we have one saboteur, accomplice to the judge, that is bigger in one's life. So I'm going to give you a little description for each, and it can be interesting already if when you're listening, to see if there might be a little bit of that in you, if that can resonate with you. So I'm going to start in the middle with the pleaser. So the pleaser indirectly tries to gain acceptance and affection by helping, pleasing, rescuing, flattering others, to doing that, of course, far too much. And the pleaser loses sight of its own needs and becomes resentful as a result. So there's this idea of sacrifice in the pleaser. Then we've got the controller. So the controller is really anxiety-based, and there's this need to take charge and control situation and people's actions to one's will. I know what you should be doing. And it creates high anxiety and impatience when that's not possible. Then we've got the stickler. So the stickler is about perfectionism and the need for order and organization, but taken too far, just really extreme, in a really extreme way. Then we've got the avoider. So the avoider focuses on the positive and pleasant, but in an extreme way, avoiding difficult and unpleasant tasks and conflict, which can also be very sabotaging, right? And then we've got the victim. So the victim is an emotional and temperamental way to gain attention and affection, right? With an extreme focus on internal feelings, particularly painful one. So with this idea of being a martyr, really. Yeah. So again, this is trait of personalities that are taken a little bit to the extreme, just to show you in which way or in what way they can be sabotaging. Yeah. Then we've got the hyperachiever. So the hyperachiever is dependent on constant performance and achievement for self-respect and self-validation, highly focused on external success, leading to unsustainable workaholic tendencies, loss of touch of deeper emotional and relationship needs. I guess that can resonate as well with people. Then we've got the restless saboteur, restless, constantly in search of greater excitement in the next activity, constant busyness, rarely at peace or content with the current activity he is doing. Finishing, we've got the hypervigilant. The hypervigilant is continuously intense anxiety about all the dangers that could be, everything that could go wrong, and vigilance, and the person can absolutely never rest. And finishing, the ninth accomplice saboteur is the hyper-rational, intense and exclusive focus on the rational processing of everything, including relationships. And those persons can be perceived as being cold and distant and intellectually arrogant. So these really provide a lot of clarity, and it's always a great step forward to actually see what's happening internally. I know it's not pleasant. I know that you might have recognized some of your behaviors in those descriptions, and that is never pleasant. It's never pleasant to look at the dark side, if I put it this way, because it actually reveals parts of ourselves that we are not proud of. But I love the fact that actually we can also consider that they are not who we are. They are just those phenomena created by the ego that were there to protect us. And we can actually also say, okay, I'm ready now to let go of them so that I actually can be who I really am. So it's nice as well to see that you have there is the judge that might be in your head. There might be this saboteur in your head. It is not my saboteur. It is not part of me. You make it something that actually is outside of you and makes it as well more manageable. So I can actually overcome the judge, for example. So I hope that helped and that gave you a little bit of insight. And if you want to know more, you can actually as well take a saboteur assessment on positiveintelligence.com. There's a series of questions and then tell you what are more likely your saboteurs, the saboteurs that are operating inside of you, which I found really interesting to do. And so what is the point of all that? So the point of all that is, as I said, to get this clarity, and the power of awareness is incredible, actually. The more you see the patterns, and the less power then they will start to have. It's like they start melting like snow in the sun. And I really like this quote by Eckhart Tolle. I couldn't choose to actually choose two quotes from him at this point. So he says that the ego is not only the unobserved mind, so the things that we cannot see, right? The things that are happening unconsciously inside of us. The voice in the head, which pretends to be you, but also the unobserved emotions that are the body's reaction to what the voice in the head is saying. Because at the end of the day, what really affects us as well is all this roller coaster of emotions that we end up feeling, and all the things that it happens internally because we've been triggered internally for sometimes not even great events, just not even important things sometimes. And we're like, why do I feel like that? Why is it so intense? And I really love this other quote as well. Same author, Eckhart Tolle. The moment you become aware of the ego in you, it is strictly speaking no longer the ego, but just an old, it is strictly speaking no longer the ego, but just an old conditioned mind pattern. Ego implies an awareness. Awareness and ego cannot coexist. So this is why really becoming more and more aware, seeing more and more, actually initially is not pleasant, but when you can see it happening even day to day, and you can actually also prevent it, like, okay, I'm going to be in this situation. I was talking to a friend recently who knows that it can get really triggered when driving, it really starts to create in him a lot of reactions. So he can now anticipate better the reactions that he might be having and the emotions and things that are going to be bothering him while driving, because he's been observing what's happening and what saboteur has been talking to him at one point, etc. So there'll be a lot of other things that you can be doing, but awareness is always, I believe, the first step. So we've looked at the reasons. Now let's look about the solutions. Yes, how to transform, how to change, and what powerful tools and techniques that could be there for you. So what's common again with everything that I've been saying so far, that it seems like we need to be deprogramming something, this old system of the ego and all sorts of things, patterns that we've been creating, to create a new program, so to reprogram, we have learned, we need to unlearn and then relearn. Yes, so to change the way the brain works, to create new neurological pathways, to create new operating system. So how do we do that? So there are all sorts of great tools and techniques that are available. So you probably have heard of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, EFT tapping, hypnosis, energy medicine, homeopathy. So these are the ones that I've put in the first category as maybe, so they are amazing tools and they have been proven to work, but I'm not going to be talking further about them because I've not had myself enough experience with them to be able to talk to them. So, and I really wanted to give you as well my perspective and my experience with what's been helping me to change, not only me personally, but also me in my coaching practice, in the way I help and I coach people. So I'm going to be focusing on what has worked for me and what's working as well with people I work with, which would be around meditation, around psychoanalysis, and positive psychology. So things that I will called around therapy. The main thing can be called therapy, and change management and coaching tools. So again, I'm really not saying that the other tools are not working. I had a great experience with hypnosis. I had a great experience with homeopathy, but maybe not enough in the long term for me to be able to share with you. But I'm sure with all the great talks that are available in intonations, I'm sure you'll find and you might have an opportunity one day to join some events about that. So let's go with meditation. So a few points about meditation. So again, I could be talking about meditation for an hour, so I'll need to make it short for that. Personally, I meditate 1 hour to 2 hours every day, and that's since April 2019. I really had a strong revelation at that point that really meditation is sustained on a daily basis. It was bringing me so much value that I wanted to implement it as a system and have it on board as my daily routine and my daily lifestyle. That really was strong for me at that point. And so a few key points about meditation is that it regenerates chromosomes. I think that's one of the most mind-blowing things for me about meditation. It improves your immune system, and you can actually see the tips of the chromosome regenerating. So this is how amazing it is, and are scientifically proven now. We can see the effect that it's got on the body. It increases as well the happiness set point. It is one of the only techniques that can actually change that set point. So we are usually born with a set point happiness when we grow up. That is depending on our environment, of our genes as well, our education, and etc. Our social network, etc., etc. And usually, what happens is that people, even when they win the lottery, and they become a millionaire, they'll be happier, for a short period of time just after that, and then very quickly they go back to that set point of happiness. So the increase of happiness is not sustained, and for that you need a really deeper change, which meditation can provide. So it's really great. And the idea with meditation is, for me, is to train your attention and bring it to the present moment. So bring this attention back to the present moment again and again and again. So this is why it can be done eyes closed. It can be done eyes open as well, with mindfulness type approaches, which are also really, really great. And you usually use an object to concentrate, Very, very classically, you can use your breathing, you can use images, you can visualize a scene, you can use mantras. There are different techniques there that can be very effective, and it's great as well that there are different tools and ways to do it, which can be great as well to try and to see what works best for you. And the more you meditate, the more you get. So there's been some studies as well about the difference between having meditated 100 hours, having meditated 1,000 hours, and having meditated 5,000 hours. And the results and what it brings to your life, it's absolutely amazing, which I believe is a really great invitation. It really works for me. It's a very big inspiration to actually keep going and to see where that journey is going to be unfolding, because it's changing so much, the brain so much on the cellular level, that it's going to take, sometimes comparing of the amount of hours that you've been living on a different mode. So this is for me an invitation for you to maybe go and explore more about meditation. Then moving on, therapy and what therapy brings. So what's really, really powerful, and that's something we can find as well in coaching, is just the ability to speak, the speech therapy, even just talking about yourself, finding this time and purpose, this moment is just for you and just for you to talk about yourself. It's so therapeutic in itself. Sharing is so crucial, and it brings so much to your life, and the perspective then that is provided by another being, by someone else. And this is something that we get also very simply when we talk to our friends, when we talk to our colleagues, when we talk to other people. This ability that the other person to bring this different perspective are just absolutely crucial to one's development, and it's been really strong in my experience. In psychoanalysis, that I found what's really strong is the way that your unconscious, your unconsciousness, your unconscious resonates with the other being's unconscious. So it's something very quite difficult to explain, actually, that's happening on this level, on this very, very deep perspective, which creates this deep healing and understanding of what's happening in you and in others, and on the global level. And what I found most powerful for me is operational psychoanalysis. So it's a type of therapy that actually combines psychoanalysis, which is a type of speech therapy, with coaching. So giving it an operational sort of direction and perspective. So we're not only talking about the past and not finding solutions about what's going to change right now, but also implementing already the change and the solutions, and implementing in the way forward, transforming in that sense what you could be doing differently in your life. So what's impossible becomes possible. So positive psychology. So I've mentioned previously this idea of in revealing your saboteurs. So that's the principle of positive intelligence. That is really great, and I really invite you to check it out if you don't know about it. So this perspective, we're going to be looking at exercises to weaken those saboteurs and strengthen your sage, which is who you really are, what's left behind, those boundaries and those limiting beliefs and those voices of judges and controller and stickler in your head, and increasing your PQ, which is your positive intelligence quotient. And to increase your PQ, it's really interesting, and this is connecting back to meditation. To increase your PQ, it's really helping your brain to focus, to coming back to this present moment, to stop being distracted also by all these things, and to be able to find back this inner calm, this inner reassurance of I am all right, I am great, I have a great value, I have a great essence that I can be proud of. And I love also all the things that we can find around the science of happiness. And the science of happiness invites us to do every day some little random acts of kindness, write a gratitude journal that's very positive as well, to see the positive in your life instead of focusing on only the negative. Meditation. So again, we're pointing back. It's funny how they interconnected. I really like that. Exercising as well, moving your body, moving your energy. That yoga is great for example, and creating more social interactions. In the science of happiness, apparently, they've been discovering how important it is to have connections with others. And I love how to how you can take the chance actually then to change with those little simple little things that you can implement in your life. A little word about the coaching perspective and how change management can be great. I think once this deeper inner work has been done as a baseline, those tools can be great. So for example, here you've got a table of a change management perspective tool created by Berkeley's University, and all the little orange boxes are to try to identify where in the process there can be something that goes wrong. So if it goes wrong at this step, or if it goes wrong at this step, and the green side provides the solution. So let's say at this step of the process there is a problem, the solutions are focus on this, focus on that, focus on this. And I love the way coaching is then giving you a solution for right now, you know, for when you're struggling right now in this moment with your project at work or with your personal change process. And there are all the great tools that are really, really great to help you build those concrete steps, have accountability as well on, okay, for next week, what's happening, or what's happening even in the next hour, which is not necessarily the case with the other approaches that we talked about. It gives you solutions to act, and it's really a support in the day-to-day that I really appreciated and made a big difference for me. So just to summarize a little bit what worked for me, and again, I'm going to invite you to see and find out also what works for you. We are all different. This is my observations of my work with clients and my work on myself, that what's worked for me and in a transformational level. What's worked is actually to combine things, to combine the personal level, the cognitive level, the unconscious level, the spiritual level, and to make sense of that. And I talk about, in a way, reconciliation. And I love how the fact that therapy has been helping me with the past, coaching has been helping me of implementing the future, and meditation is bringing me back to the present moment, so I can actually enjoy life right now, right here with you. So it's really strong for me to be sharing about all that, and I hope that it resonates with you. So just one last point on how to make it sustainable, how to sustain this change. And I love this quote saying that persistence will get you there, consistency will keep you here. And again, my invitation would be, find what works for you, experiment, you know, and explore the things that can actually be working for you. It's okay if it doesn't. It's so, and don't quit. You know, keep looking as well for solution. Don't quit is a very big invitation. Don't get discouraged. It's not because it hasn't worked yet that it cannot work. Keep going. Keep this journey. It's really worth it. Keep on going. Get some support. It's absolutely crucial as well. For people, some support is also reading. You know, it's also book. It's also exchanging, like in a group like that, like on Inclinations. It doesn't have to be always professional help. I really needed that personally. That's something that I couldn't have done without. So see, maybe if you're depending on your level of struggle, it can also be very beneficial for you. And see things really as a lifetime change, lifestyle, and not only, like, for example, not only a diet, not only a short-term thing, like, okay, I'm going to be exercising because I'm running for this marathon. Just really see how you want your daily routine to be. Just really see how your lifestyle can be implemented, can be changed. Maybe don't try to change everything at once, but try to see maybe on one aspect what would you like to achieve on the everyday basis. And last little thing, maybe just take that first step, you know, leaving the old ways for the new ways. And maybe that's, you know, also the first step to make a big change in the world. And I like this quote from Darwin, actually, saying that it's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the ones that are able to adapt to change. So it's funny how our change is crucial there as well, even though, of course, it's talking more about an evolution sort of level. But I like this invitation to see how you can implement change in your life, because we can see sometimes some patterns that are being herited, you know, in some families for a very, very long time, or even in societies. And you can actually have a massive impact if you can step and do what you can to change and transform yourself, you know. It's a very powerful thing. And the Dalai Lama said that real change in society must start from individual initiative. So it might seem, it's funny because it might seem sort of something like a bit selfish, you know, oh, I'm doing it for myself, I'm changing myself, but actually it's got a lot more impact than that. And I wanted to finish with this quote by Eckhart Tolle, who says, "Is suffering really necessary? Well, yes and no. If you had not suffered as you have, there would be no depth to you as a human being, no humility, no compassion. You would not be reading this now. Suffering cracks open the shell of the ego, and then comes a point when it has served its purpose. Suffering is necessary until you realize it is unnecessary." And I think this is really this journey and this exploration that happens as well with change. Like we've got to go really deep, and you've got to go really deep to understanding the roots and the cause, and then they appear to you, and you're like, oh, actually, I'm ready to let go of that. You know, that's okay now, and you can make peace with it, and by cracking progressively, you know, the shell of the ego and working at your awareness, it's also like revealing the tip of the iceberg, you know, the emerged part of the iceberg that you can't see. You know, creating that, you have a massive impact on your personal life, your professional life, your relationships. Everything is influenced by that, is impacted by that, and it's got a major impact not only on you but also on others. So yes, in a way, you are changing the world by changing yourself. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that wasn't too long. I really had a great time. I'm so glad that you came and you were interested in that theme. So thank you so much for being interested in change and wanting to learn about transformation. Make a wish, take a chance, make a change. I'll be really happy to connect with you. If you want to contact me, you've got my email address, contact@coachclem.com. Or you can also visit my website, www.coachclem.com. I'll be really happy to connect on LinkedIn, on Intonations, on Facebook. I always provide a discovery session. So if you want to have a chat more in depth about your situation, I'd really love to. I always love to connect with new people. Thank you again for your attention.